G'day everyone, I hope you're having a great day. Today we're going to be explaining how you can play Dinosaur Planet Recompiled on your computer today, and was probably a better alternative. Starting off, Dinosaur Planet, what is it? Well, it was a cancelled game for the N64 developed by Rareware back in 1999 and in the 2000s. It was then changed to be StarFox Adventures, where they changed the character from Saber to Fox McCloud, and this sort of led to the game being expanded and changed for the GameCube instead of the Nintendo 64. However, the Nintendo 64 version of the game was mostly complete, and there was a leaked version of the game from Forest of Illusions, and this game has now been used to be modded by fans to be playable on Nintendo 64 hardware, as well as now on this recompiled project. You can get the recompiled project from Francisco121 at Dino Recomp. You then go to the releases page and there is version 0.1.0. This is very much a work in progress version of the game and has lots of crashes and lots of issues. Oh, I think we crashed. Boys. You go down and scroll to your choice of Linux or Windows. I'm using the Windows version, and we then need to get our Dinosaur Planet ROM file. Now this is a little bit more complicated than you would initially expect to make this work, and we'll be going through the steps for that. So here's where it gets complicated. So first of all, we're going to extract our file into our folder here. This is our Dinosaur Planet Recompile. I'll now have a folder looking somewhat like this. Ignore the neural Majora's Mask N64 HD thing. I'm going to be talking about that soon. And we open up our Dinosaur Planet Recompiled. As you can see on my one, we have it start game already, but we're going to fix that. We're going to uninstall straight away. I know lots of people want to know how to install, so here's a very quick way of doing it. We go into our mod menu, open our mod folder, and then we go back one directory. And here we have our local area for where our file is stored. And you'll notice it's called dino.z64. We're going to come back to that in a second, but for now we're just going to delete that. Yes. And then we're going to restart our recompiled, and you'll notice that now says select ROM. So we're going to go to our ROM that we sourced elsewhere. This one specifically has a file folder that looks like this. It's very important that we notice that there are two files here. There's one that's rom.file and one that's N64 ROM. Very important that they're both there. We're going to talk about them both very soon. So we extract our files out. They're now in our folder here. We then go over here to select our ROM, and we can try and select the rom_crack. If we try this one and we get this error right here, this ROM is the correct game but the wrong version. This project requires the unmodified beta ROM, which what that means is what we want to select is the other file, just the ROM file itself. We select that, and now we have to start game button. So you're going to need to source this ROM file, not the ROM crack file. It won't work. Has to be the ROM file. Good to know for myself and for you guys at home. Now, what's the only problem we have with Recompile these days now? Well, we go back to our mod folder file here. You'll notice that it says my name, which is blurred out, app data, local, Dino Planet Recompiled, and mods, which means this is actually going to be on our C drive, which is our OS drive. And like me and many other people, we don't tend to put our biggest drive to have our OS on it. So that way, when there's a problem with our OS, we can just simply format this one drive and not lose all of our other files. But the way Recompile currently is set up, it always goes to the same mod folder. And then when we put on our mods like Neural, which is this one particularly is a high quality texture for the moon in Majora's Mask, we can see this is 3.26 gigabytes, which will be added to our C drive, which will quickly eat up a lot of space if people do not have lots of free space on their drive. I just wanted to point that out here and now because I think personally this is not the best solution for how recompiled could be. We need to be able to select where our mod folder goes. It's okay if the Dinosaur Planet N64 and ROM file ends up here, because they're usually not that big. As you can see, this is 65 megabytes, not that huge. We can easily deal 65 megabytes on a 256 gigabyte drive or 512 gigabyte drive, not a problem. But when we start having 5K assets being put into games and they end up being like 20 gigabytes, starts to be a problem. At least to me personally. Don't know if it's going to be a problem for you guys. Now, playing this recompiled version, as you can see, starts up great, works fine. We've got a bunch of graphics options. We can do multi-aliasing, we can make it full screen, windowed. We can adjust the resolution to original, 2x, auto. We can also downsample the quality so it's 4x and then downsampled back down to 480p. We can change the aspect ratio to be expanded. We can be 16:9, and we can upgrade the frame rate if we wish. We can apply all these things from the menu simply. We also have the ability to adjust the main volume, which isn't exactly the greatest because inside the game itself is not the greatest balancing of audio. Some of it's like really quiet, some of it's really loud, which makes lots of problems going around. We also have a lovely debug mode so we can see what's going on with our game and why it's crashing. And this game will actually crash a lot, which is why we're going to bring up a much better way to play this game. So we're going to go over to my parallel launcher, and we're going to play a much better version called Dinosaur Planet Enhanced. Now you can get this one from lots of reputable sites out there, but the one that we're going to be using happens to be one of my favorite websites at the moment. I'm not going to say where it is because Nintendo may come after it, but on their website they have the Dino patch and specifically the Dino mod Enhanced, which is made by the people over at dinosaurpla.net, also known as the Dinosaur Planet community. And they've been slowly patching and updating the Dinosaur Planet crack ROM on the original Nintendo 64, which does work on Nintendo 64 hardware, to make it better and actually playable. And they say that this game is 100% completable. I've tried to complete it myself. It is very, very hard. Not because the game is hard, it's because there is very little direction on where to go given by the game itself, because it's still somewhat in development, which means they haven't done all the tutorialization, some of the quests just don't line up properly, and there's very little direction for the player. But this is definitely a much better way to play it, and they have a thing right here for us to patch the file. All we have to do is choose our file. Here's our dinosaur base from right here. We choose this file here. It will then look at the MPD, check it all out, and then we can apply the patch, and that will give us the file right there, and then we can play the game right from Parallel Launcher. Now, I think this is a much better way to play it. As you can see, we've got some shaky going on, but depending on which version of an emulator, you'll get different results with this version of the game on how it looks and which textures load, which textures fail, and how the game actually works. With that, I hope you guys have enjoyed and you've been successfully able to install the recompiled version of Dinosaur Planet or playing the new version of Dinosaur Planet on Parallel Launcher. If you have, give it a like, give a subscribe. There's going to be plenty more ROM hacks in the future, especially over the next coming month, and mods with Zelda Majora's Mask recompile. The randomizer is coming soon, 5K textures are coming soon, and I'll be doing a roundup video once they're all available about which ones actually work and which ones are really good and which ones are just, well, funny gimmicks that are there just for the sake of being there. Hope you guys have enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one. Bye bye. And stay tuned for Nostalgia 64.